I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in.
Gentlemen,
this guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Welcome back to Freedom Forge. If you believe in truth, accountability, and exposing corruption no matter how deep it runs, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in. Because what we're about to break down today should concern every single American who cares about justice. Now, let me briefly explain what this hearing is about. What you just watched is part of a congressional hearing centered around the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein files, documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network, including allegations of child sex trafficking and powerful individuals who may have been involved. The hearing is supposed to be about transparency, accountability, and whether the DOJ has failed the American people. And more importantly, the victims.
Recognized for 5
May I
minutes.
respond very briefly to her statement?
Well, I think we can do that probably on one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victims' lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Mr. Chairman. This isn't how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from
Kentucky. All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So yes. I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? This is a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you in.
Gentlemen.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician. My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim time
this is bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way you want.
This goes over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know, at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
She didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering.
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right, this is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from A.G. Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files that you...
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection. Just want to check on how much time we have left in votes, but one thing I've learned here of late that they'll wait on us. How much time do we have? Oh, they just called. Okay. The chair now recognizes.
And let me tell you right now, what we just saw was not transparency. What we saw was chaos, deflection, and what looks like a system trying very hard not to tell the full truth. You've got a lawmaker laying out serious accusations, documents that were mishandled, victims' names exposed, critical evidence redacted beyond recognition, and questions about why certain powerful names like Les Wexner were either hidden or inconsistently handled. These are not small mistakes. These are catastrophic failures, if true. Think about this for a second. Victims, real human beings, who trusted the system to protect them, had their names exposed in a document release. That's not just incompetence. That's betrayal. That's the kind of thing that makes victims never come forward again. And if the system is scaring victims into silence, then who exactly is it protecting? And then we get to the redactions. This is where it gets even more troubling. Entire sections of documents blacked out, names hidden. And when you try to view what's behind those redactions, another redaction, that's not transparency. That's a wall. That's a deliberate barrier between the American people and the truth. Now, as a right-leaning patriot, let me be clear about something. This is not about left versus right. This is about accountability versus corruption. When a government agency like the DOJ fails to be transparent in a case this serious, it doesn't matter who's in power. That's a problem for all of us. And you heard it in the hearing. This isn't just one administration. This spans decades. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. That right there tells you something deeper is going on. This is not a partisan issue. This is institutional. This is a system that, for whatever reason, struggles or refuses to hold powerful people accountable. And then you have the moment where the witness says, "We fixed it within 40 minutes. I'm sorry, but that doesn't inspire confidence. If something that's serious can be fixed in 40 minutes, then how did it happen in the first place? Who signed off on it? Who reviewed it? Where's the accountability?" That's the key question that kept coming up. Who is responsible? And notice how that question never really got answered. Instead, what we saw was interruptions, time battles, accusations flying back and forth, even personal insults. That's what happens when things get uncomfortable. That's what happens when someone starts getting too close to something sensitive. But here's what really stood out to me. The claim that certain names appear thousands of times in the files, but somehow don't show up where it matters most. That raises serious questions. Either the records are incomplete, or someone is deciding what the public gets to see. And that should scare you. Because once you accept that powerful institutions can selectively reveal truth, then justice stops being blind and starts being controlled. And let's talk about the media for a second. You heard mention of a report about the DOJ allegedly releasing identifiable images of victims. If that's accurate, that should be front-page news everywhere. But instead, it feels like these stories come and go without real follow-up. Why? Why isn't there more outrage? Why aren't more people demanding answers? This is bigger than Watergate, as one of them said. And honestly, I think there's some truth to that. Because this isn't just about a break-in or political espionage. This is about a network tied to some of the most powerful people in the world, and whether our justice system has the courage or the freedom to fully expose it. At the end of the day, here's my take. The American people deserve the full truth. No redactions, no selective releases, no protecting elites. If crimes were committed, it doesn't matter who you are. You should be held accountable. That's what justice means. And if the DOJ can't or won't deliver that, then it's up to Congress and ultimately the American people to demand it. Because once justice becomes optional, freedom is next. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and don't let anyone tell you this doesn't matter. It matters more than ever. This is Freedom Forge. If you want more breakdowns like this, real talk, no filter, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We're just getting started.